Five Nights at Freddy's 4 is a pretty renowned in the Fnaf community, and the insane lore that confused everyone then and even now, with us just figuring out some new lore tidbits, which, might I add, by the way, aren't new at all. We knew this like ages ago. We knew it since Sith's location, but you know that's besides the point. You know, I'll leave Twitter to their silliness. But also, when the game released, people saying the game wasn't scary anymore, including some of the biggest content creators like PewDiePie, and kind of a franchise burnout in the way, I would say. Now, I've been playing FNAF for many a year, originally playing FNAF 2 on my brother's laptop when it came out. But the first game I got for myself on my device, my own little small young me laptop, was FNAF 4. Now you'd think, as that was my first one I've had for myself, it would be the one that I've completed from every aspect. However, that is not the case. In fact, I've never completed it at all. Almost every year I tell myself, you know, let's actually finish FNAF 4. But every time, it has some varying qualities of success. Sometimes, you know, I'll get to night 3, feeling pretty good about myself, and then I'll just stop. Other times, I look at the main menu and then just go, you know what, I don't want to play this. And quite frankly, speaking of the main menu, it is completely different from any of the FNAFs that came before it. Usually, with the older FNAFs, 1, 2, and 3, you'd have a close-up of the animatronic. FNAF 1 had Freddy, FNAF 2 had the toys and the withers, and FNAF 3 had Springtrap, kind of just staring you dead at the eye, right in your face. But FNAF 4, there's no close-up at all of the enemy, any of the animatronics. Instead, it's a distant view of a house with bushes surrounding it and those animatronics hiding away in those bushes. It kind of almost makes you feel like you're the animatronics stalking out the house, waiting for the perfect hour to strike, which is a completely different feeling to any of the main menus in the game. And not only that, the music that comes with it just is so terrifying. It's a feeling of almost kind of slow and eerie, like a stalker. This is why half the time I can barely get past the main menu, because it just, there's a sense of deep dread anytime I go on that main menu that's just like, nah, I don't want to play that anymore. Now, when I actually could bring myself to enter the game, which didn't usually happen that much, that was a completely whole other story. The atmosphere in FNAF 4 rivals the 2 best games in the series for atmosphere, that being FNAF 1 and 3. In fact, I would say it's ever so slightly better than both, with the distant sound of the grandfather clocks that kind of hone back to the old FNAF games with the do 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 do, you know, good old classic FNAF little thing when you complete a night. But it also has the dogs barking in the background that you sometimes occasionally hear, and the classic Chica being in the kitchen, like, you know, the first game. But to top it all off is the silence. Now, I know that sounds stupid. Like, silence is good atmosphere. That's not much atmosphere if there's no sound. But this silence enhances the feeling of being a child awake at the dead of night when everyone is asleep, which I'm sure is a feeling everyone must remember as a kid. Sneaking into the kitchen to get a late night snack, or having to go to the toilet in the middle of the night, or just even staying up late watching YouTube videos because you are a little naughty child and you want to get away with it. As a kid, it was a very scary experience when your imagination just went wild. Not even that though, that silence let every small sound stand out even more, increasing your scaredness as a child. You know, you'd hear those sounds, slight tiny sounds, and be like, what on earth is that? And that's the exact same thing that happens in FNAF 4. But this isn't just, you know, for atmosphere and for vibes. It's actually also a key part of the gameplay of FNAF 4. The whole gameplay is the final part of the puzzle, and why FNAF 4 scares me so much, and I can't even finish it. If you don't know the gameplay, then to put it simply, you have to listen out for sounds of the animatronics, their breathing, in the dead silence. And if you hear them, get ready to close the door. But if you're wrong, get ready to get jump scared. This is what gets me the most. The deep suspense of what's to come from the darkness, knowing that each tiny sound you hear could be life or death. This plays into what makes the gameplay feel so different from the previous FNAF games, and that is the unpredictability. You know, FNAF 1 and 3 have a very rock solid strategy that don't leave much room for unpredictability, you know. You just close the doors in FNAF 1, and if you get a good strategy, you get a good strategy. FNAF 3 is slightly different. There's some variable factors and having to listen to sounds, but most of the idea is just keeping Springtrap as far away as you as possible. FNAF 2, however, is quite close to being unpredictable, but in a sense it actually fails at this by making the unpredictability be too unpredictable and almost just luck and unfun and unfair. Losing just because Bonnie decides to come into the room just as you need to wind the music box. Like, I remember playing FNAF 2 and being so frustrated, and even now when I go back to it and do some of the custom nights, it's just pure luck whether I win half the time, and it's infuriating. FNAF 4, however, uses all these aspects from the previous games and it hones them perfectly. There's a pretty simple, decent strategy to the game. You go to one door, you listen, you check Freddy, you go to the other door, listen, and repeat. But what they do differently is having you stare into the utmost darkness. There's no cameras to behold, you just have to listen and use your torch to see if anything's there. And hiding the AI with that makes the AI feel completely unpredictable. You don't know what the AI is doing because you can't see the AI, so you don't know what might happen. In the same sense as well, each night they add something slightly ever so different. Now, night 1 and night 2, not so much, but they start slowly ramping it up, adding more and more threats, and just when you think you've figured everything out in the strategy at night 5, here comes good old Fredbear to completely change everything you knew about the game. And that's why FNAF 4 is such a good and terrifying game, because you feel like a child in that game. You don't know what's happening, you don't know what's going on. You have to just rely on your senses, and that is all. You have to rely on the hearing and the dread that comes with knowing that there's something in the dark and you don't know if it's ready to jump or ready to hide away once again. And this is why FNAF 4 is my favourite in the series, without me even completing it. All these fears and senses of dread and suspense and all that combined makes FNAF 4 truly feel like a nightmare. So that was my FNAF 4 video. I hope you enjoyed. I know I said I was going to do Euphoria for my next video, but I got a little sidetracked and I did a little vote and people decided FNAF 4, so here it is. I hope you enjoyed it. Little more structural than my last video, so I hope you enjoy it and give me more feedback. The next video will be Euphoria this time. Trust me, I will get around to it. It's been a while since I played it now, but I've still got things in my brain to say about Euphoria. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I am disappearing into the dark FNAF October night. Woo!